The book of Isaiah, chapter 29, and verse 20 in the KJV. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorn is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off, that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. All praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, Wahara Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the seeking to be the elect of the nation of Israel. They're scattered abroad amongst the heathen, some looking like the heathen. Together 144,000. Preachers, teachers, and prophets. Shalom. Watching this video right here.
Suspect, outdoor grime. Solution, home armor, power clean. Country. So,
by Redacted News. My man Clayton right here says, hang on, the FBI is now monitoring Americans who criticize AI data centers, right? As you can see right here,
violent.
U.S. law enforcement warns of anti-tech extremism as AI hatred grows. All right, so they're going to label people as domestic terrorists for speaking against this AI system. All right, so you see where we are in privacy. Okay, as we just read in Isaiah 29 and 21. Again, that make a man an offender for a word. You see? So now everything is offensive. Why? Because it's speaking against this beast system and what they're about to bring forth. And what they're bringing forth, which is prophecy. It's all prophecy. You know, people are speaking up against the AI data centers. You know, even though it's causing people to become sick, it's raising the electric prices. It's causing things to go up. It's putting people out of jobs. It's sucking all the water. Esau is saying, so what? You can't talk about the system. You can't be against the system. You see how brutal it's getting? You see the times we're in? And how bad it's gonna get to the point where you can't even speak about nothing, even though you're on the right. And who are the primary targets? Us. Okay, the Israelites, beginning with the men. Yahweh Shema Shah set up, Lord willing, we the men that Yahweh Shema Shah set up to warn the nation of Israel. Okay, so the elect can repent and convert and turn back to Yahweh Shema Shah, and also to preach the downfall of this wicked kingdom. All right, Esau don't want that. Why? Because he wants everyone to go along. See, Trump wants loyalists, and this is not, Trump is just a face. The elites want loyalists. That's why they're going to break people down and make them, seduce them, deceive them, so they'll be partakers of this beast system. All right. It says that make a man an offender for a word, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing or not. So hey, the way they're making a snare, a trap for those that reprove in the gate, us, and also truthers too, that's bringing out this information, is them what, putting laws in place, man. All right, let's get this word for offender. It says, to outline of biblical usage. It says to sin, miss the way, go wrong, incur guilt, forfeit, purify from uncleanness. To sin, miss the goal or path of right and duty. Well, the path of what Esau says is right. So they're making a man an offender for going against his system. All right? They're saying you sinning against his system. Look, when you get C, it says to miss the mark. To induce sin, to cause a sin, right, against this system. To bring into guilt or condemnation or punishment. You see that? To miss oneself, lose oneself, wander from the way. So Esau said, hold on, you can't cause people to wander from the way. All right? So they're making a man an offender for a word. So they don't want us speaking against it. All right? Now, we're going to play I'm going to play like the first 4 minutes. But I typed in the article, U.S. enforcement, warns of anti-tech extremists. It says federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, have begun tracking a new domestic threat category labeled anti-technology extremism. So you see, if you're against this technology, this system, the MOTB, you're going to be persecuted. This classification comes in response to escalating public backlash against artificial intelligence, AI, job displacement, and massive energy-hungry data centers. You see? Hey, so Esau got laws in place for that, man. Which, hey, they already had these laws in place. I'm sorry. Isaiah 10. See, they already had these laws in place. They ain't just out the blue, so I'm going to make a law. Now, it was already in place. This is what they do. Isaiah 10:1, woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. NLT. What sorrow waits unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. It says, they deprive the poor of justice and deny the rights of the needy among my people. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. You see that? So, hey, these people are now rising up. All right, the people in America are now rising up, as prophecy said they would do. Verse 22, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. You see that? So that word wicked goes into the laborers. That's the workers. That's the working class. So that's everybody is coming up against this system. Wicked, laborer, sufferer, wretched one, workman, sufferer, toiling, you see? So that's the workman, you see? Strong's definition, a laborer, figuratively sorrowful, that laboreth that is misery, had taken labor, wicked workmen. And don't we see these laborers mourning? They're full of sorrows. They can't pay bills. Things going up. So what do? They put laws in place. Well, they putting everything in place. They break people down. All right? Hey, that's why you get Revelation 13:15. It says, and he had power to give life into the image of the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause it, as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So you can be cut off from society and or separated for what? Going against the system. All right? And they're going to kill people. They're going to lock people up and kill them for speaking against this system. Hey, that's treason. All right? Which is punishable by death or the 5 years in prison or $10,000 fine or something. It says, so in other words, you'll be the enemy will be labeled as enemies of the state. Back to the information, internal documents detail the growing concern among authorities. The threat focus agencies are concerned that extreme opposition to AI and large-scale tech infrastructure could escalate in physical violence and civil unrest, and it is. It is. All right? Why? Because people are going to be out of jobs. Everything is going up because it's AI data centers and robots is, again, taking place in these jobs, and it's just causing all amount of chaos. All right? They can't afford anything. People can't afford anything. So, yes, it's going to cause civil unrest. Let's get it. Damn. Let's get it. 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. So, you see, everything is already in place. They got everything set up already in place. The book of 2nd Esdras. Chapter 15. And it reads, 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth not. One people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. But there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their action shall stand their power. You see that civil unrest right there. Okay, people are going to rebel, man. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the house shall be destroyed, men shall be afraid. And a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their house with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So you see, this is going to cause all manner of chaos. All right? All right, all manner of chaos. All right? People protesting because they can't afford nothing. Things are hard, man. All right? And it's going to lead people to robbing, killing, and stealing. All right? So you see everything. Hey, prophecy, man. Prophecy. Damn, man. Let's see. Let's gotta pull it back up. Son of a gun. Damn. Let's see if I can type it back in. There it is. Snap, man. Damn. I knew we were gonna do that. I'll read it again. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, have begun tracking a new domestic threat category called anti-tech extremism. Federal agencies circulated intelligence assessments warning that public backlash against AI development and massive data center expansions could devolve into civil unrest and violent extremist acts. And we just read it was and why. The threat landscape intelligence reports, unpublished documents from the DHS, FBI, and regional intelligence fusion centers indicate authorities are monitoring rising anger over job displacement, you see, energy hungry data centers, and the community impact of AI. Violent incidents. The growing comprehension is partly fueled by real-world actions. For example, federal authorities charged a man with attempted murder after he threw a Molotov cocktail at the home of an AI executive reportedly acting on anti-AI documents. Yeah, there's people rising up against the government right there. We read the second address. Hey, this stuff it's gonna get to a point where it's gonna be on a mass scale and it's gonna be crazy. All right. The targeting infrastructure reports from the Northern Virginia Regional Intelligence Center warned that anti-authority extremists are plotting to target data centers and critical infrastructures to disrupt operations. You can't stop prophecy. It's gonna happen. Civil liberty concerns. Broad labeling. Civil liberties advocates warn that the definition of anti-tech extremism is extremely broad. The label does not appear in public DHS or FBI guides on domestic terrorism, monitoring peaceful actions. Leaked intelligence shows local fusion centers are monitoring civil meetings, photography near data centers, and organized protests against tech campuses. Legal experts argue this net is wide enough to criminalize peaceful opposition. AI skeptics and local zoning protesters under the guise of national security. So you think they're not monitoring our videos? You think they don't know what we're watching, what we're recording and posting? You don't think they can get an IP address and look up the information which we bring forth? You see? This is what they're doing. All right? So there's no getting out of this. Some of us going to be jailed, killed, rights, all that. This one right here, Jack, man. She Jack. That's a woman, y'all, by the way. They be taking dope.
Do not take oregano oil until you know about the 72-hour rule.
country. So
Yeah, they do pre-workouts, massive. Man, I don't know what all this shit is, man. Let's do it natural. But she jacked though. It says, hang on, the FBI is now monitoring Americans who criticize AI data centers. So hey, that's them. Hey, that's them taking your free speech. Freedom of press. All that your rights. So you see, this is what they're slowly taking away from the people, man. All right. Hey, all praise to you. How about Shema Shah, man? It's prophecy. So we want this to happen. We for the AI data centers. We for the beast system. We for the mark of the beast. And that's what be Esau ass. That's in his empire. As you go back to Job 22, chapter 20, and read verses 20, 21, 22, and I think 23, it goes into the end. So hey, this is what, man, matter of fact, let's get it. Let's get that, John. We want this to happen. And it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. That's the faith we got. Everything else already happened. Why wouldn't it happen? Job 20 and 23. When he is about to fill his belly, God Yahweh shall cast the fear of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. See, hey, that's the destruction of America and this beast system. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. That's some nuclear missiles. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yet the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. You see that? So hey, all darkness shall be hid in the secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. And hey, that's the end of this place. All right, that's gonna be the end of this place. So I'm gonna play the first 4 minutes. Okay. Come on, goddammit.
well, here we go again. If you speak out against something the government is doing, you could be labeled a domestic terrorist. The federal government has apparently found a brand new category of domestic threats, not cartel violence, not Wall Street fraud, not the people poisoning our food or bankrupting our country, spying on Americans, dragging us into endless wars. No, those people are fine. No, the new threat is you. If you don't want a massive AI data center built in your backyard or you speak out against it, you are the problem. According to a brand new report out of Wired magazine in their investigation, more than 1,000 pages of unpublished reports from DHS, the FBI, and regional fusion centers show that the U.S. law enforcement agencies are now circulating warnings about something they're calling anti-tech violent extremism. That's the phrase, anti-tech violent extremism. And Wired says this term does not appear to in any publicly available DHS or FBI document guides on extremism. It's not there, which means this is new. This is a newly emerging category being built inside their surveillance state in the Trump administration. So if you don't want a giant data center in your backyard because of what it's going to do to the ecology, what it's going to do to the noise pollution, what it's going to do to the energy infrastructure, then you could be labeled a domestic terrorist. Our next guest has written a brand new massive report on AI data centers across the United States, and it's incredibly eye-opening and disturbing. We'll make sure we have a link in the description box for you to all read it. Our guest is Hakeem Anwar. He's the CEO of Above Phone, and he's written this brand new AI ecology report, and we're thrilled to have him back on the show. Great to have you back.
Clayton, it's good to be back. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to see you. Welcome back to the show. So, yeah, want to dive into your AI ecology report here, but just before we get into all of that and what you've uncovered, you've been, of course, obviously on the front lines of warning about this government surveillance. Obviously, at Above Phone, that's what you guys do. Making sure we have computers and phones that are not being surveilled in that way. So thank you for that. Just first on your thoughts on this Wired investigation, and if you're speaking out against these AI data centers, then you're on their watch list.
Yeah, it's alarming, right? This is news from a few days ago, and it just shows you how fast this is evolving. It also shows you that people are pushing back. I think from that report, they're paying attention to who shows up locally in the zoning hearings and any hearings about data centers. They're tracking who is showing up, and they're also on the lookout for people who are using violence to achieve their goals, which is, sometimes that can happen. These people who are misguided think that violence is the only way to achieve their goals. And I just want to, we have to preface the whole conversation by saying, hey, that's not what we're trying to do here. This is about peaceful action and awareness, not tearing things down.
Right. It's about empowering people with information. And just because, you don't want this thing in your backyard because of what might it do to your environment, your energy bills, your water supply, all of it doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you an American who's standing up for liberty. And it's also, that's part of our DNA in this country. So let's talk about your new report. And what was it?
So yeah, you can watch the rest of it. That's the main thing I wanted out of it. So you see what's going. All right. So hey, let's pray up in the names and how about Shema Shai. We get closer and closer to the end, man. Shalom.